We all know that timing in tennis is important, but what we don't know is this something we can actually train? We've all had those bad days on the court where we're just not getting the rhythm or our contact point's a little bit off. You probably want to know, what is the mystery behind this phenomenon? And more importantly, how do we get rid of those bad days for good? The challenge with timing is that your ideal stroke timing can vary on so many factors. What your grip is like, your hitting arm structure, whether you're hitting a forehand or a backhand, the length of your limb, and maybe even your particular mood that day. Combine this with the fact that each ball is never coming the same way twice, each with its own spin, speed, shape, and size. What? I don't know. So naturally, there is no one-size-fits-all solution to this, and we can't just follow general advice like start swinging when the ball bounces, because then what are we going to do for volleys and shots that are right off the bounce? Another problem is that timing isn't something that you can traditionally teach with things like theories and words, and is much more of a subconscious process that we can only master through things like drills and cues. So when players come to me and they say, "Dede, my timing is..." They don't sound like that. When they tell me that they feel late or their timing is off or they feel like they're reaching for the ball, the first thing we do to help them is to help them dial in something we call their swing zone. The swing zone is basically the ideal position of the ball when we start to initiate our swing. Now, a quick side note here, a lot of players also struggle with their very perception of where their contact point is. This is a problem because even if your timing is amazing, if your very idea of where you need to hit the ball is off, you're always going to feel reached or jammed. But for the sake of the video, we're going to assume that your contact is already in a good position, and we're going to focus on the timing and rhythm. If you do want us to make a video on the perfect contact point for the forehand, let us know in the comments below. So again, the swing zone is the position of where our ball should be when we start to pull the trigger or start accelerating forward. Now this is crucial because depending on how long it takes you to go from the end of your backswing position all the way to contact, it's going to affect your swing timing significantly. But as long as you understand this, how long it takes for you to perform this motion going into contact, you basically have 90% of your swing timing down. And anything else that you do in the backswing or the prep stage is just icing on the cake. So if you want to try finding what's your ideal swing timing for yourself, then follow along with these drills next. First, start from the end of your backswing with the full body loaded. Drop feed and hit at about 25% of your max speed. Now you can get a feel here for how long it takes to go from this loaded position to the flip, and then from there to contact. Now as you get comfortable with this, you can slowly start to add in speed until you're at about 70% of your max speed. The key is to stay loose and relaxed, because when we start hitting faster or dealing with faster shots, our tendency is to tighten up. And if you can hit consistently in this swing zone, you'll be perfectly fine in a match. Okay, once you've started to get your groove going and you've got your basic swing timing down, we're gonna have to graduate beyond this, because while this looks good and all, this isn't necessarily realistic. Just think about the last time you were in a match and you hit 5+ neutral rally balls right up the center. Pretty much never, right? And I had to learn this the hard way in a match against Daytree. So we get past the warm-up and we're starting to do the coin flip for who's gonna serve, and we're starting to move each other a little bit. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Daytree starts hitting the funkiest shots I've never seen him hit before. It's already bad enough that he's a lefty, but he just started hitting carve slices that went from my forehand side to my backhand side, hitting super high topspin balls that landed right at my feet, and even threw in the occasional underhand serve. Now by this point, it was kind of getting to me, so I started complaining to him, "Daytree, what the hell are you doing? I can't get a rhythm with you." And I'm not even kidding, he goes, "Thank you." By that point, he knew he was in my head, and he took home the W. You see, in that moment, I learned two very important lessons. The first one is, Daytree's spirit animal is very clearly Nick Kyrgios. And the second lesson, well, the job of any good opponent is to completely destroy your rhythm by constantly switching up the pace, spin, and placement. After all, it's their job to try to get you to mess up as much as possible. You see, if tennis were like a dance, most players are expecting to be able to just dance to the rhythm of Dua Lipa or bob their heads to some nice hip-hop beats. But in reality, tennis is a lot more like a really, really bad DJ who's constantly switching songs. And most players just try to find a rhythm by hoping that their opponents will eventually give them the same stroke over and over that they're comfortable with so that you can eventually get the pattern down. And I know you can relate to this if you're at the 3-5 level playing a 4-5 player, or maybe a junior player who's trying to get past those moonballers. Instead, the best ball strikers out there, whether it's Agassi, Djokovic, Federer, they're going to find a rhythm by learning how to recognize and adapt to each ball. Essentially, they become prediction machines. And they learn how to build their own internal tempo by learning how to adapt to the different speeds, spins, depths, heights of each ball. And based on this split-second recognition that they fine-tune, they're able to perfectly know exactly where they're going to adjust their feet, position their body for the contact height, and exactly how much spin and power to put behind their shot. Now, one of the most helpful tools that we've seen out there for improving that hand-eye coordination, that ball tracking ability, is called the synaptic strobe lens. And guys, if you want a serious edge over your opponents, this here is a game changer. The strobe lens is basically a pair of glasses that flash quickly off and on in intervals, which helps to limit the amount of information that you receive. And by removing this visual information, the brain is forced to fill the gaps and process the inputs that it gets more efficiently. Put simply, this is going to be a complete game changer for your hand-eye coordination, your anticipation, and your reaction speed. And of course, as a bonus, you get to look really stylish as well.
It's testing you. Look at that.
Reaction speed, right there. That's reaction speed. So by using this, it's kind of like a workout for your brain, strengthening the connections between your eyes, your brain, and your body. Now, if you don't want to pay a dime for these, you can of course just blink really fast, but we've started using this ourselves, and honestly, I can tell you this is the closest thing that we've got to God mode when it comes to our timing. And now I'm pretty much hooked. We use this in all of our warm-ups and with all of our students as well. So if you want to check it out for yourself, click the first link in the description below or the corner right up here. And by using our affiliate link down below, you'll get a 15% off discount as well. So go check it out. So to help you master the recognition and adaptation of your ground stroke timing, follow along to these next drills and you'll start immediately feeling it. To master recognition and adaptation on your strokes, let's add a quick progression on top of the first drill that we did in the video. Start out by rallying in the service box with your hitting partner. Now what's critical here is where your focus is going to be. You want to focus on 3 critical elements in the ball's path. The first is your opponent's contact, the second is the ball's bounce, and the third is your contact point. And together, we can start to get the tempo of these 3 key elements by counting 1, 2, 3. Now while you're rallying, notice how this tempo of 1, 2, 3 changes depending on the ball's speed, depth, spin, height, etc. And then you can use 2, or the ball's bounce, as a cue. If the ball's bounce is getting shorter, you could think gauge, gauge, and then swing at the last minute. And if the ball's bouncing at your feet, you could start your swing earlier and a little bit slower. From there, you can get used to these little nuances in how you might time your swing. Because there are so many variations, which is why even pros make tons of forced errors. When you miss, basically just say interesting. Because like a scientist, you're genuinely curious about why you may have missed. And by being interested instead of angry, you can open up that space for improvement. And now that you've learned to recognize and adapt, we've got one final key before you're ready to start applying this into your real matches. You see, none of this is actually possible without first learning how to get that early preparation. There really is no such thing as preparing too early, although there is such a thing as taking your racket back too early, which is a whole nother subject. But your number one goal is to get in the right position and be ready to get to each ball, no matter how fast it's coming, as soon as you recognize where the ball is going to be and when. So early preparation is actually not about the take back or what we do with our arms. Instead, it's going to be what we do with our eyes and our feet. Let me explain. You see, the best players in the world, when they see the opponents hitting their shot as soon as they make contact, they already know within a split millisecond exactly what kind of spin to expect on the ball, generally where the ball is going to be, whether it's on their forehand or backhand side. Now we talk a lot more about how to watch and anticipate the ball in this video here, so go check that out if you're having trouble with recognizing the incoming shot quicker. Assuming you've got that covered, next we're going to talk about how well and how quickly you can execute that body turn. Another thing you want to execute for that early preparation is as soon as the opponent's hitting that ball and the ball's starting to come your way, you want to get into that initial unit turn. This is the position where after your split step, your entire body turns about halfway for the forehand and all the way for the backhand so that you're ready to move comfortably to the ball and execute that smooth take back and acceleration in one smooth tempo. So to get that initial unit turn, just follow me. You're gonna see your opponent hitting that shot, execute that nice split step wide and low, and whether it's coming to your forehand or backhand side, while keeping both hands on your racket, you're gonna execute that halfway turn for the forehand side, which is halfway between the net and the side, with your both hands still on the racket. And for your backhand side, you're gonna execute that full turn while taking your arms and your tip of your racket straight back like so. From there, you're ready to get your feet in position to the ball and execute that full body turn, coiling and uncoiling for that explosive finish. Now, an easy drill to help you master the unit turn is called the first step drill. Without a racket, split step and try to pivot your back foot to the side. So this will be your right foot for your forehand side and your left foot for your backhand side. And try to do this as quickly as possible. And you can make this harder by having a partner point to the left or right during your split step and try to respond to where they're pointing as quickly as possible. And the beauty with this drill is you could even do this between points in your matches to help you feel even faster. And if you follow these tips, you'll be hitting cleaner, faster, and you'll start dominating all of your ground stroke points. Only your ground stroke points. Your volleys will still suck, your serve will still, everything else will still be terrible. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out our full forehand course where we share even more details on the timing and technique of elite forehands to start hitting smooth, explosive winners. So if you're interested, click the first link in the description below and you'll get full access to the course right away. And as always, athletes, go out and train hard. I will see you